I walked in and I was shocked. My mom was crying. You could tell there was something wrong. And my dad was looking at getting his own company started, something he had discussed with my mom. And he wanted to make one more trip with this current company he was with. He decided to go ahead and take the trip. He discussed it with my mom. It would take him about a couple weeks, make the run. He had to go to the Dominican Republic, pick up a barge, drop off a barge, and then trek it back. And I remember I was outside playing basketball, hanging out with some neighborhood kids. And then my mom came to the door and yelled out to us and told us to come inside. I was like, okay. So I walked in, she was in tears. She let me know they found him. He was in the Savannah River, floating, dead. And yeah, it was the roughest day of my life because I realized he's gone. No explanation. No nothing. No answers. Just gone. So I got more than angry. I got fearless. Maybe a death wish, and maybe some back part of my mind that I thought life wasn't worth it, and just world sucked, and just everything in it just was horrible. And me and some of my friends got into a big brawl in downtown Newport News over something stupid, as usual. And I saw some people get really injured, and I thought I was going to jail for sure this time. And I thought they're going to come knocking on my door at any minute. And they didn't. I literally sat in my house for a couple weeks and was waiting. Just didn't go anywhere. And I realized that I probably got off. And I was a month or so away from going to school. So I said, you know what? I'm not going to hang around my friends anymore. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to go to school and try to get out. Get focused. Let's just get out. Graduate and then figure everything else out. So I did. I walked through the rest of the school year. Cut off my friends. They were angry at me. I was focused on school. Tried to work on figuring out what I needed to do to get out. And I graduated by the skin of my teeth. But it was a teacher that let me know I actually had more to do than just that. It was a teacher I didn't even go to her class, but 2 weeks out of the entire year. Her name's Miss Goffney. She caught me on one of the last few weeks of school and asked if I was going to give her book back because I hadn't been in her class. And I said, yeah, I got it in my locker. I'll give it to you right now. And I gave it to her, and she said, you know what, I want to tell you something. I said, what do you got? She said, I'm going to pass you with a D. Though you didn't show up, though you didn't do any real work for this, I understand school's not for everybody. But I think you're going to do something bigger and better when you get out of here. And I believe that. This lady I'd only spent 2 weeks with, but for some reason she saw something. So it registered in a major way that I had more. And Trent, who's one of Greg Garrett's sons. Trent's a good buddy. He was, model type guy. Girls loved him. Guys loved being around him. I just loved him because he was funny and down to earth and just loved life. He was like free floating, no anger, no resentment, no nothing. And I used to go see him in New York because he was living in New York after high school and doing his modeling things. And I had a lot of fun in New York with him. So he bust down to Florida one time when I was down there for something. But he came down and he's like, man, I want to move to California. You want to go? At the time, I'm like, I got a good job, but I'm really not happy. I'm like, all right, yeah, let's do it. Within 1 month, I just packed up my belongings and left. Transferred my job, dropped the management job, transferred to a regular full-time job at Best Buy, went out to LA. Fun, exciting, and scary as all could be. The only friend I had was Trent. We move out and Trent's got all the arrangements, right? He's set up, he knew some people out there. When we got out there, we did have a setup. It was on a garage floor on an air mattress. So we roughed it for a little while. Because of the job at Best Buy I took on, I was doing audio, video, like movie theaters and things like that in people's houses and kind of helping them out with that type of stuff. I got to meet so many cool people. So when I realized some of these people I was meeting were like superstars, right? Like people that you never think in a million years you get to meet being here from Virginia, right? Some people started to make a big impact because they would talk to me and let me ask them questions. And I started, because of that old psychology thing, I started wanting to understand who they really were, not what was on the TV or what I'd read or whatever. And so I just started asking their advice because they were successful. And that kind of furthered me a little bit more. Like people like Stevie Wonder, Marlon Wayans, who was a huge one to have a good conversation with back then, told me to work, but work with a purpose. I didn't understand that for many, many years. And I still didn't, probably when they were telling me. It wasn't until much longer afterward that I kind of started understanding, because I was starting to read more and understand, because it gave me some highlights of things to kind of look at it, read, and understand. But so I lived in about LA for 4 or 5 years, learning a lot and getting a lot of good friendships and relationships that some I still have to this day. Then my mom, she started to kind of have a hard time, and I think maybe it was going longer and I was just more focused on me. And I could hear it in my mom's voice, there was something wrong. My brother was still here. And so I was like, you know, I gotta get back. I gotta go back home and I gotta help my mom. I gotta figure that out. I packed up and I left and I came back home. But before I left, Trent called his dad Greg. Greg is like one of the biggest agents ever in Virginia. I was close with the family, but just not as close with Greg. I didn't know Greg because he was always working. He said, you should really think about real estate. I called Greg, I talked to him, and we had a good conversation. And he kind of instilled this thought that I could do this and I could control my time. I could, make as much or as little as I want, and kind of all the freedoms that I was dreaming of having as a child, and looking at all these people that I'd gotten to meet. And I got back here, got my license. I got in August of 2008. September, the bomb dropped. That means the housing market flopped. So I'm 24, just newly licensed, in a career I had very little knowledge about, and everybody else had told me not to do this. There's something in me that trusted Greg was successful, Adam was doing well, and then I saw other people that as I got to meet them. So I stuck with this thing and I tried to figure out a way to make it work. And I realized, like, in this career I could make it me. I could do anything. I didn't have to go by the rules and boundaries of what a corporation would tell me I have to look like, sound like, and be like a robot. So I kept mushing along and trying to build this business. And I was having success. I got a little bit too hot to trot, failed a little bit, rebounded, typical stuff. And then I met my wife. Changed my whole world. Everything. The career was going good. I was building it. I knew it was right, but I didn't have that purpose yet that I talked about. I didn't have that. And I met my wife. I met her where she worked, where she was a waitress. I'd always seen my wife at this establishment because my friend Liz worked there. I knew almost everybody there but my wife, Nicole. I always thought she was gorgeous. I thought she was beautiful, but I never talked to her. So I told Liz, introduce me. And she did. But my wife didn't want anything to do with me at the time. She didn't want to meet me, talk to me, whatever. Just she was working, moving, and doing her thing. But I guess I bugged her enough throughout the night. I was so persistent. She gave me her phone number, and it took a little bit of time, and I finally called her. I don't know what it was, but I talked to my wife, my now wife, back then for a couple of hours. We just talked, everything, life, general. And I found out she had a daughter. She was kind of trepidous at the moment. And I told her to bring her daughter along, because something hit me and said, I'm going to have to love this little girl like I love you if this is ever going to work. So we go out to dinner, Silver Diner. And Madison gets there and she's cute as a button. We're there, it's our first like official date, hanging out. And Madison's like the brightest little 3-year-old, cute as a button. She just wanted to play with me. She wanted to draw. So she goes underneath the table, comes, sits beside me, and the whole night we're drawing and we're playing tic-tac-toe. And I realized, like, man, this could really be something great. So me and my wife started, continued to date from that point. And dude, it wasn't too long before that, probably not even a year into it, where I was like, man, she's it. She's everything. Like, she was tough, but she was loving. She's creative, much more than I ever could be. And she just got a beautiful soul. She can play music, she can paint, she's just all the way around, just a beautiful soul. So I wanted to marry her. I wanted to spend the rest of my life with her. I asked her and she said, yeah. So we got married. So now I've got Riker and Madison. And I realized, kind of looking back, not only did my wife give me purpose, but my kids gave me more purpose. And so then, when I look at all the things that I've done in my life, bad or good or indifferent, things that have happened to me that I couldn't control, my wife, my family, my friends, they were my steadying factors all along. I just wasn't paying attention. And so I look now and I look back and I have everything in my life that I could ever ask for. I got a beautiful wife and kids, got a great house, great career, love the people I work with, customers that I get to work with that become family and friends from that point. And so I have a community that I get to serve, I get to be a part of, and it's bigger than me. And so I get to enjoy that part of my life because it feeds my family in more ways than one. I got it all. I don't need fame, I didn't need money, I didn't need any of it. I just needed my wife, I needed my kids, and all the things that I'd already had around me in my life. But they gave me the purpose. They gave me everything. I mean, everything. I couldn't live today without them being the rock in my life, like my dad was for my mom, for us as kids. I'd like to say that I'd be the rock for my wife and kids, but I think they don't realize they're my rock.